GTF show. On a break, then we prospects down. He's the football exec of great renown. Breaking down the Bears like no one around. He's Greg Gabriel. And this is GTF.
Welcome everyone to a fresh, out of the box episode of GTF Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo Gandia, and I got a request for all of you. First of all, those people on Facebook who want to see their comments in our chat area and shared on screen, all you got to do is go to streamyard.com/Facebook and register. It's totally free. That will allow us to see your comments and have Greg laugh at them, call you a stupid idiot, or I will agree with Greg, that's for sure. So do that. The other thing is, those of you watching on YouTube, please just hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, all that crap that helps us with the people who, give us a couple of pennies and stuff. There it is, to like and subscribe. And then those of you on X, share the show. In fact, everyone, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on X watching, share the show with others. Don't be greedy. This is a great show. Don't keep it all to yourself. Share it with others, all right? Now, let me bring in the man, the myth, the legend himself. He is Greg Gabriel, and there he is.
There I am.
How are you, Greg?
Oh, I'm better than yesterday. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, tell us what happened yesterday.
Well, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times. I got a lung infection. I've had it for 6 years.
Yeah,
and I don't know how I got it. Just to go back a little bit, I was working for DC in the XFL, and we were stationed at the University of Maryland. We practiced right across from the Washington Commanders ballpark, right adjacent to it. And right before COVID hit, I started coughing. And so then COVID hits, we got to go home. So that's the end of March. And this cough keeps getting worse and worse. And I go to the doctor, they couldn't. It took them over a year, put it that way, to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And, going to 3 different doctors, because they kept sending me to like an infectious disease doctor, my own doctor who's a internist, and then an allergist. And they finally did a bronchoscopy. You know what a bronchoscopy is?
Well, it's something to do with bronchitis, I assume.
No, well, they run a tube down your throat into your lungs, and then they're taking pictures. You're out during it. You're in that twilight zone. So, you don't know. It doesn't take very long. Well, it turns out I had 3 different rare bacteria in my left lung.
3 rare bacteria. Jeez.
Okay, now, the good news is they can handle it. The bad news is they'll be there the rest of my life. You can't kill them. So, I'm on antibiotics, but every once in a while, and I don't know if it's weather related, because there's a lot of pollen and stuff in the air now. It just flared up, and I went for a long bike ride on Saturday. So it might have had something to do with that. But, Saturday night, Sunday, yesterday, I was just coughing my ass off.
That's wild. Somebody is asking, have you ever taken NAC? I don't know what that is. NAC.
I don't know what it is either.
So CP PRBUSA 9470. Give us some more information on that. And Chief Latero says flare-ups are bad. Yeah. Oh, here it is. N-acetylcysteine, some type of medication, it seems.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I only take what my doctor tells me to take.
Yep. We're all captive of our doctors.
I am on one antibiotic that I've been on now for 5 years, and I will be on the rest of my life every day.
Oh, boy.
So, and then sometimes they have me on a second antibiotic.
Wow. Evie suggests a mullein leaf and make some tea. Get yourself some mullein leaf and make. Everybody's got these home remedies. Evie, let's go over to Greg's house. You and I are making some tea. He could use some company, I'm sure. All right, we've got a heck of a show planned for you, and I'm going to forewarn everybody. You're going to hate me by the end of the show because I'm going to challenge Greg on a lot of the roster positions and bring out what could potentially be negatives. And Greg, who always sees things as a glass half full, and I, as a Bears fan, always look at things as a glass half empty, we should have some interesting conversations. And today we're going to focus.
Unless I tell you to F you, I don't know.
So if you're at work, you might want to lower the volume. Throw some F-bombs at me. So we're going to start with the offense, and because there's so much to talk about, and I want to really try to keep this under 90 minutes, we're just going to do the offense today and plan on doing the defense next Monday when we're planned back here. So let's start with Greg, of course, the quarterback position, because the quarterback position is where it is all at. And so I had this as a headline, Caleb or bust. Do you think there's enough depth on this team in case Caleb goes down for 4 games and we have to rely on Tyson? Or even if Tyson himself gets nicked up, then we got to rely on Case Keenum and a guy named Miller Moss. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, we're in great shape with Caleb. Second year in the system, you know, I think he got better and better as the year went on. Completion percentage was not where it should be. If you put the drops in, and all the different drops, his completion percentage jumps up by about 5 points, and then it's, you know, semi-normal. So, but everybody's going to have some drops. But I think now with the second year in the system, they want 70. That's pretty hard to do. Very few quarterbacks ever hit 70 over the course of a year. But if he gets 65 to 68, he's having a hell of a season. I remember in his third season, Josh Allen was above 70 for probably 13, 14 games, and then finished the year at like 68-9. And that was up 10 points from the previous year. So, you know, if Caleb can make a jump like that, and it took Allen 3 years to get above 60%. If he can do this, you know, this year in the second year, that's an accomplishment. He should, because he's got a better supporting cast than Josh Allen had in Buffalo in that year.
Now, let's stay with Caleb. I do want to talk about the 3 other quarterbacks briefly, but let's stay with Caleb, because the big issue with Caleb, in my opinion, was his accuracy. His off-target rate, according to Next Gen Stats, was 26.6%, and the league average is 14%. So he's...
Okay, now what do they mean by off-target rate?
Yeah.
You mean by missing the guy by a lot?
Yeah, outside of his arm reach is how they describe it. So if he holds up his arm and the ball is past his fingers, then they call that off target. And so the headline there is that Caleb tends to survive on explosive plays, but not necessarily on sustained efficiency. Does that worry you? And is that something, based on your experience in the NFL, you see quarterbacks get better at?
They all get better. And again, I use the Josh Allen thing, who is, you know, one of the better quarterbacks in the league now. His first year, he was like 52, 53%. Then the second year, he went up to 58. where Caleb was last year. Then in his third year, he went up 10 points. And, to 68, 69%. Okay, now this is Caleb's third year. It's only a second year in the offense. In the case of Josh Allen, Josh was in Brian Daboll's offense that whole first part of his career before Brian became the head coach of the Giants. So, yeah, just because it's not just Caleb's second year, but it's everybody else's second year.
Good point.
And so I think that, like last year at this time, they're going through the offseason program and they're getting a crash course in a new offense that they've never played before. So everybody was on the ground floor trying to build. Now we're going to build from that. And yet they start all over because you got, new players coming in, the rookies be coming in this weekend, but it doesn't take as long. The rookies got to play catch up quickly or they get left behind. And then, I just think because of everybody's familiarity, and not just the familiarity of the offense, the familiarity with Caleb and the different players. You can take Colson Loveland. He missed all of the offseason program, and the first part of camp wasn't really full go. They were easing him in and stuff. So, it was always a catch-up situation. I think by the end of the year, the big plays were crazy good. If you just take a highlight reel of the big plays, you're just saying, wow. But yeah, there's room to improve, and it should happen. It just because it's his third year in the league, so third year of seeing different defenses and being comfortable reading defenses in the second year in this scheme.
Okay. You know what? We've been, before the Bears drafted Caleb on this show, we were very blunt about some of the concerns we had about Caleb. And one of the concerns that I had is, are we drafting Justin Fields all over again? Because Justin was not a timing type quarterback. Plant that back foot and then release the ball. And Caleb has shown some challenges in that area. Do you think that the timing type offense that is run in the NFL and with Ben Johnson, that Caleb can master that and we can see signs of him mastering that this season?
Yeah, just for the same reasons I've already said that. And on top of that, you're going to have Ben demanding more of Caleb. And I think that relationship is very good. And Caleb likes to be coached hard. And he wants to be good. You can't be good unless you really have that drive to want to.
Yeah.
And he does. And
sure does.
So it's, some of the stuff that came out pre-draft has all, and we've talked about this before, has all turned out to be really baseless and untrue.
Yeah.
So, were there some moments his rookie year that probably weren't his best, and rumors to that? Probably. And I think part of that had to do with the whole situation. We're not supposed to swear, but that whole rookie year with him was a clusterfuck, and it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. You're right. Well, and I do have to credit Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson came in here knowing the challenges that Caleb was going to present in terms of attitude, in terms of being, I don't want to say prima donna, but he came in as, I've always been number one. I've been allowed to do whatever I want. And Ben what really came in and said, "You sheriff in town, buddy, you're going to do it my way." You saw it in the opening press conference. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's really helped Caleb and has humbled him somewhat. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know if it's humbled him. He is what he is. Yeah. He is brash. I don't want to say he's cocky, but he's very sure of himself. Yeah. I just think it's a very good working relationship. And you can go back and say, why did Ben take this job? Yeah, he wanted to be in Chicago. But if there's no Caleb Williams here, he isn't coming here. He came here because he had a quarterback and a guy that he thought he could help turn into a superstar. And I think you're going to see him. I mean, he's almost to the superstar level right now, and only because of the way, just use this fourth quarter in 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
The way he brought teams back in his first year in that offense, that's just crazy good.
Yeah. And I agree with our attorney here. He says Caleb has put in the work and it is paying off. There's no doubt about it. And I did warn everybody at the top of the show I was going to play devil's advocate here. So before everybody's throwing tomatoes at me. All right, let's get back to the quarterbacks, because I do want to ask you about Tyson Bagent. And what is your confidence level that if indeed Caleb has to sit out a handful of games, a few games, that Tyson can come in there and manage this offense efficiently? I mean, we really have only seen him start 4 games in the NFL, and that wasn't under Ben at all. That was in his rookie season.
He got some mop-up duty last year.
Yep, he didn't start, correct.
But
correct.
In the preseason, he was on fire.
Yeah.
Granted, limited offense, going against limited defenses, but he was still on fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with him, it's the same as with Caleb. First of all, they're similar type athletes. They're very athletic players. By the way, did you see there was a thing where he and a few other Bears, I guess, are working out somewhere, and then they go to the gym at Waukegan High School, and they start playing pickup basketball with some of the kids. Did you see him draining the threes?
Yes, Bagent has a great shot. He's an athlete. Yeah. That guy is an athlete.
Sure he is.
And the competitor.
So, anyway, he's smart. He loves the game. Might be his last year here. I forgot how the contract goes. It might go one more year. I think that he's the ideal backup because he is similar. Mm-hmm. He's got the arm strength. He's got the toughness. He can make plays with his feet. He's got the, similar type athleticism. So all that meshes well. There was stuff I was getting DMs and questions on X, prior to the draft. They're waiting to trade Caleb this weekend. And I said, you're nuts. Or not Caleb, Tyson.
Tyson.
You're nuts. I said, if he was going to get traded, it would have been in March.
Mm-hmm.
And why? I said, because there was a pool of quarterbacks to go out and sign, right, so you have a viable backup. The backup quarterback is like the second most important position on the team after the quarterback. Because if your starter goes down, you better have somebody who can come in.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that with Tyson. I got no worries about Tyson. As a rookie, he wins 2 out of 4 games, plays pretty well. They obviously like him because they extended him and gave him some pretty damn good money.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. They would not have done that unless Ben signed off on it.
Yeah.
So that alone tells you what they think of him. So he's not going anywhere. Could he get traded next year? Yeah, but again, it's not going to be in April.
Mm-hmm.
It would be in March, where they can then go out and handpick a guy to succeed him. Because it's sure as hell not going to be quarterback number 3 here.
And Case Keenum will not start a football game for the Chicago Bears. Safe to say? You better not.
Well, I mean, you can't. It's safe to say. I mean, both would have to go down,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then they'd be in. Then they'd be in real trouble. I mean, what Case has is a great brain, a great knowledge of the NFL. He's a good mentor,
mm-hmm.
for those guys. So somebody said, "Well, why pay him $5 million or whatever he's getting?" And make him just a coach. Well, because they want to do it the way that they're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to question it.
players have certain access to their teammates that coaches don't have.
That's right.
And so in the locker room and in the showers and going out to eat and stuff like that, I think that's where Case is probably making his money, mentoring Caleb. Safe to say?
At night, going over to
There you go.
Caleb's house and watching tape together of
Mm-hmm.
next week's opponent. And trust me, these guys do that. They don't go out and screw around every night. The guys who take their job seriously work at it.
Yeah.
So he is what he is. And I don't know that much about Miller Moss to say yay or nay. He was supposed to succeed Caleb at USC. That didn't work out. Maeva, I think, ended up beating him out, who will be in next year's draft. And this kid went to Louisville. I didn't watch much Louisville tape. He's got some athleticism. He's big. He's got a decent arm. He's a friend of Caleb's, and that probably has something to do with, them signing him because they know there's already, good camaraderie between the two. So there'll be, very smooth sailing within the quarterback room. Do they keep a fourth quarterback on the practice squad? I think he's got to show that he's got the talent to be a possible number 3 the next year.
Yeah. There is this belief that a guy like Tyson Bagent and Dominic Marquez put it, that Bagent is better suited for Ben's offense than even Caleb. And Caleb is the more dynamic athlete, can get you out of trouble better than anyone else in the NFL, maybe except maybe Mahomes and Allen. But that guys like Bagent are well suited for Ben Johnson's offense. Is it a possibility? I mean, looking at those highlights of Miller Moss, he plays kind of a Tyson Bagent game. He gets rid of the ball on time. He looks pretty accurate. I mean, those are highlights. But if he shows he could do that, maybe they do stash him in the practice squad.
Well, yeah, but he's got to prove it,
right?
And until he does, and in fact, theoretically, you could say he could beat Case for number 3, but it's very. I'll put it this way: there's a big question mark there. We haven't seen him yet. He hasn't been in the camp yet. He gets here. They get here Thursday. They come in and they get physicals, and then they go out on the field on Friday, and then they start, working with the veterans next week. So, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And whether he is capable of that, we don't have an answer. And we'll find out. Who's the kid who was here year before last? Reed. Went to Western Kentucky. Well, for some reason, he didn't click well with Ben, or Ben didn't click well with him, and they put him on the practice squad originally, got rid of him, and now he's in the UFL.
Yeah, he had a terrible game this past weekend.
Yeah, I know he was playing real good, and then like last week he threw 4 picks or something. I was like,
yes,
but
indeed.
that's going to happen. But yeah, I think it's with Moss, it's just totally up in the air. We got to wait and see. None of us know the answer to that.
Well, so if Miller Moss comes in and he studies, gets the playbook done, he's in class, he's acing everything, he goes out to the practice field, he's turning things in, his knowledge into plays and stuff. Then during the preseason, he plays really well. Do you then entertain phone calls for Tyson Bagent as
No,
J2K is asking?
absolutely not.
Okay.
You've got to have a viable backup quarterback.
Okay.
Because if you lose Caleb, you are shit out of luck. And you can't put it on a rookie who really lost his, didn't play very much in college to be your backup. This is a team that wants to, if Caleb goes down, you can still win a lot of games with Tyson Bagent.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that with a rookie? No.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now to the running back position. The room on paper looks pretty strong. Where's my graphic? It is right there. with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Roshan Johnson is still on the team, and when he plays, he usually plays very effective. Britton Brown saw some action in the game, regular season game, and scored a touchdown.
Great in the preseason.
And great in the preseason. And Deion Hankins was, I think, on the practice squad all of last season.
Yeah, he flashed in the preseason too. Now, the interesting thing, I mentioned this to you before we started, they had some clips of the different position groups working on X yesterday. The Bears put it out. And they show the running back group, and there's 3 running backs, Swift, Monangai, and Johnson. You know, Hankins and Brown weren't there. They're on the team, but where the hell were they? And they weren't in line. They were not there with the running backs. And they were going. There was 2 different drills they showed. They're really just running through plays, but without a quarterback. And it was just the 3 of them. Now, could they be hurt? Sure. You know, they could be dinged up or something, and they were held out of that particular practice. I'm just mentioning that they were not there yesterday from that video, and that was the first day the players were on the field with the coaches. First day they could even be allowed to. Now, the rookie free agent is an interesting guy.
Coleman Bennett.
Yeah, he didn't time very good, but he looks a lot faster. To me, he's kind of like a David Montgomery, and that's what he does really well. Catch the ball. Yeah. You know, I mean, he catches the ball as well as anybody. And he ran like 4.63, but you watch him, he looks a lot faster than 4.63. Of course, Emmett Smith ran a 4.7, and people didn't catch him. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I love this kid's balance. I love his hands. This kid could win a spot.
I'll put it this way: you're going to compete for one.
Yeah. I bet you he's going to have an excellent preseason. It's going to remind us a little bit of the one kid from Yale who the Bears ended up cutting after he got injured. I forgot his name. I'm sure somebody in the chat will remember. He was featured on Hard Knocks. He was crying with his mom and stuff. He was a promising running back, but it just didn't work.
He wasn't from Yale. He's from Howard.
Howard. Okay,
yes. And he is Wheeler. Ian Wheeler. And he's playing in the UFL.
Oh, is he?
I don't know what his numbers are, but I did think, early on his numbers were good. And I was thinking, is he playing good enough to have earned another invite back? And I don't have the answer to that. And I think part of it was, number one, how he finishes up in the UFL, and number 2, how does this Coleman Bennett look during the offseason? The one thing I don't like about the UFL as compared to when I was with the XFL, and it's the same league, is that we started our season the week after the Super Bowl. So we were done 10 weeks and then 2 weeks of playoff games a lot sooner. We were done like 5 weeks earlier than this group is. And this group, they are done so damn late. If you sign a guy, he's getting like 4 weeks rest before you got to start all over again. And that's going to be tough on his body.
Absolutely. Does make sense. All right. Some interesting questions coming in regarding the running back position. And Creighton has one of them. He says, do you see Xavier Thomas as being more of a gadget running back versus a wide receiver? Now, I didn't have Xavier Thomas on my running backs list, but he's probably going to get a lot
I think you'll get some reps there, just like DJ got some reps there. Okay, I think, he'll be a gadget guy. He did play. Now, I looked at some, everything that you can see on YouTube is highlights, and I've done tape, regular game tape from LSU, but I wanted to, and I didn't want to go through whole games. So I found like a 6 or 7 minute highlight tape of his freshman year at Mississippi State. And there was nothing of him carrying the ball. But the one thing that jumped out was last year, you saw a lot of his catches were kind of in here, and he wasn't going out and snatch it. Now, at his pro day and at the combine, everything was extended, and he had really good hands.
That's good.
Okay. At Mississippi State, Same thing. So
Mhm.
why he was doing that at LSU, I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
But that was a concern of mine when I first saw it. It's no longer a concern.
Yeah. And just so people know who are saying Xavier is a wide receiver, he is a wide receiver, but he got substantial amount of snaps out of the backfield on jet sweeps, even lined up in the backfield. So he can play the running back position on a certain amount of plays. There's no doubt.
I don't have his stats right in front of me, but yeah, I mean, he's even scored touchdowns last year as a running back.
Excellent. Florida Bears fan is asking, do the Bears have a scout who is dedicated to scouting the UFL?
The pro department does that.
Pro department. So
all the pro scouts get that, and they, they get the tape of every game every week, and they go through it, and they're, checking guys. It's the same as they do during the regular season with NFL guys. They're checking guys, and they're going to look for guys that kind of jump out, and probably looking for specific positions.
That would make sense.
Let's see if there's a guy there. The thing is, again, there hasn't been really anybody come from the UFL that I can think of. There might be one or two that's kind of jumped out once he made the jump. Make the team, yes.
Yeah.
But not jump out.
Okay. Well,
not be an integral part.
Right. This running,
but that's a different story.
Okay. This running back room, on paper does look good, but there is an issue that I uncovered in doing some research. Now, the Bears were number one in yards gained before any of their running backs made contact with the defender. They averaged 2.5 yards per rushing attack, and that was ahead of the Lions, Dolphins, Eagles, and 49ers, who were 2nd through 5. The issue, though, Greg, is that on third down and short, meaning 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, their conversion rate to first down was only 53%, and the NFL average is 59%. And I got that sense when I was seeing the team that they were often forced to go to 4th down plays to try to sustain the drive. And when I look at this room, I say to myself, well, Monangai and Johnson should be the antidote for that, but they weren't last year. Roschon just gets hurt too often, and a lot of people in the chat room are saying, can we even count on Roschon this year? And Kyle, he probably will get better at picking up yards after contact, but it still didn't help the team.
Yeah, I get what you're saying from last year, and it's a very fair question. They don't have that real big guy. Roschon would be.
Right.
Because he's like 225. And Britton Brown actually is pretty good size back, but he was more practice squad than 53. He might have been on the 53 like 3 games or something all year. But I think part of it will be, like we were saying with the quarterbacks, familiarity. I like the way Swift ran last year. He ran tougher, ran lower, got tough yards a lot better than he had done in previous years. I think last year was his best year in the NFL, period. And, there's a lot of fans who were writing him off before the season starts. But the guy who wasn't writing him off and had no intention of writing him off was the head coach. And the same with the general manager. So, kind of word to the wise, don't let the fans be the general manager. These guys know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So, because remember back when Ben got hired, Swift is gone. He got rid of Swift in Detroit. And right away I corrected that. That's not true. They were able to draft Gibbs, and the next day traded Swift because they're really the same type of player, and they needed a complementary type player, and they got a 4th round pick for him.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to let people know that my job here today is to play devil's advocate and to nitpick. I usually am bestowing a lot of love on my team, the Chicago Bears. So bear with me. I know you're going to hate me by the end of the episode, but bear with me. This is how I wanted to approach this show, because I think, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're working on an NFL team, don't you have meetings where everybody is asked, talk candidly about your concerns about your position group, running backs coach, your position group, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, it's
What
not
the hardest thing to do in the league is?
What?
Evaluate your own team.
Thank you. Thank you.
It really is, because you get love affairs with certain players.
Yes,
and you're
great
not
point.
necessarily. It's better to have somebody. Sometimes it's better to have somebody from the outside come in and say, "No, it's not the way he is. This is the way he is."
Yeah.
Just to kind of balance it. But it is. I mean, I know when we had our meetings, we would frankly admit it, that sometimes you just overrate your own players.
Yeah.
And then underrate some players on the other team because you like your own guys so much.
Mm-hmm. Spawn, I'm going to save that question for next week when we talk about defense. Let's stay with the offense. So this running backs room, tons and tons of promise, but I would not be surprised, Greg, if they were looking at the waiver wire and if an attractive running back with some power became available, they would bring him into camp to compete with the guys who are right now third and fourth on our pretend depth chart here. You agree?
I think that's fair, and part of it will be, is Roshan like totally out of the graces with the coaching staff? We don't really know the answer,
right?
But he didn't play very much last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think then it's, what's Coleman Bennett do? Does he show he can be that type of guy? Because if he can't, and I like to use the word complementary, if he can't be that complementary type back, then there might not be a spot for him, and they got to go. He might be a practice squad guy, and then you got to go out and get somebody else. And maybe it's Britton Brown.
Yeah.
He was a pleasant surprise, and don't forget, he didn't get signed before camp. We were a week into camp when he got there.
Yeah,
and he played pretty good. In fact, he played in the I think that he maybe 2 weeks into camp, he gets here like the beginning of the week and is playing in a game in that weekend, and got yardage. But it's not that hard for a running back to do that. Yeah. The running offenses aren't that much different from team to team. I mean, how it's designed, it is, but the guy knows where, get the ball, find the hole, go, especially in the preseason, which is very basic. So, I think you're spot on with your observation. We just got to wait and see.
Wait and see. We're unfortunately in that time of the season where a lot of answers to questions is wait and see.
Well, I mean, that's what part of this offseason program is about.
Absolutely.
It's like, find out about the guys you got, find out about the new guys. Granted, there's no physical contact, but you're finding out about the mental. Mm-hmm. Not only does the guy have to compete physically, he's got to compete mentally.
Absolutely.
Can he pick up the offense?
Yep.
Does he make mistakes? Go back to last year, and Luther, was hurt a lot during the preseason, but it took him a while to get on the field during the season because they didn't trust him, because he really didn't know the offense. Mm-hmm. So once they felt comfortable with him that he wasn't going to make mistakes, because mistakes cost you interceptions and 7 going the other way. So, especially with this coaching staff, this staff will not play you until you're ready to play.
Yep. What about Najee Harris? The name came up. Najee Harris, former Pittsburgh Steeler, former kid from Alabama, great looking power back, but he hasn't had the pro career people anticipated. Would you look at a guy like that?
They've passed guys like that so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not. That's just not a polls type move. You can never say never.
Yeah.
But when you bring up names like that, you're cherry picking for. Oh, there's a name. How about this guy? But first of all, he's got to be able to do what they want the running backs to do within this scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Can he? I can't really tell you that because I haven't studied him that much. But he's on the downside of his career. He's already taken a beating.
Mm-hmm.
So can he be that guy? Maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it, and I wouldn't bet on him even being here.
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to talk about defense next week, but people say, well, there's Clowney and there's this guy and that guy. They've passed those guys so many times before.
Yeah.
Why are they going to do it now?
Yeah. Yeah. The investment in the defensive line is done, in my opinion, unless some great deal.
There could be one more outside player. There was a rumor. Somebody put it on Twitter. I know it's a guy who followed me. He goes, well, rumor has it that the Bears are interested in Reader. And I laughed when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Reader is the exact opposite of what DA wants at a defensive tackle. Reader is a big, slow, strong plugger. What have they signed? Fast, athletic penetrators.
Yeah.
If they wanted a big, slow plugger, they would have kept Big Bill.
Indeed.
So when you see stuff like that, it's like the dude doesn't understand. And it's like, look at who they drafted in Vandenberg. What is he? Extremely athletic. Okay, I mean, off the charts athletic. And then the free agent they signed from Wake Forest, that dude is like a 9.50 RAS score.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with him is he got short arms, but he's real strong too. He's like, Vandenberg's like 35 reps and this guy was 32 reps.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, well, can a player overcome short arms? And I said, usually with quickness and
you got to be strength. You got to have strength and you got to have strong hands.
Right.
And if you've got a wrestling background, it'll help.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. And a lot of talk, of course, about DJ Moore's absence. I'll start with this. Last season, DJ was second in the amount of targets the ball was thrown to him, second in receptions, second in yards. He was tied for first with 6 touchdowns on the team. He had the third most touches behind DeAndre and a couple of other players. DJ Moore was everyone and a major reason that the Bears moved the ball. So what's going to happen with this offense, with the wide receiver room, with the absence of DJ Moore? Do you think Rome, Luther, Jade, Xavier, and Khalif, the 5 likely guys to make the team and dress up on Sunday, so you think they can overcome the absence of DJ Moore?
Well, Luther's got to step up and take over that position. Yeah. Rome played most of the second half of the season hurt. He's got to be healthy. Luther's is basically taking DJ's spot. Then you brought in Raymond to play the slot.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at their measurables coming out of college, Luther and DJ height, weight, speed are almost identical, but they're built differently. DJ's got a little bit more of a running back build. Luther's a little bit longer, even though they're like within a quarter of inch of each other height-wise. Just the way their frame is shaped. Khalif Raymond's played the offense, knows it really well. Good slot receiver. He's tough. He can still run. He was a 4.3 guy when he came out. You notice then isn't necessarily going for size. He's going for speed.
Mm-hmm.
And all these guys can run. I think we're going to see a jump from Jade.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be a jump to be in the top 3? I don't know. I think he's going to be 4, but he'll get more play time than he had. Excuse me. They seem to, have a good love affair with him. They like his mental makeup, his toughness, the way he goes about his business, the way he works at the game. He's the only other real big receiver they got besides Rome. So they do need him to, really step up his game.
Yeah.
So, and then the 5th guy would be Xavier Thomas, who's going to be a gadget guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, he might do some return, play some running back, play some slot. He even played outside at LSU and Mississippi State. But I think they'll kind of do with him what they did with Luther early on and, have packages for him,
Mm-hmm.
but actually more packages, because I think some of that will be in the running back position.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing on that, but based on what we've seen on tape. Sorry, guys, it's just one of those days.
No, we understand. You want me to put you on mute for a minute?
Yeah, just for a second.
That is Greg Gabriel. And by the way, everyone in the chat, thank you for pointing out. I know there's going to be some blemishes in my graphics. I might have missed a player or two, and a couple of people have pointed out that I missed Omari Kelly. Omari Kelly, the wide receiver out of Michigan State. He was not on that list and was signed as an undrafted free agent for the wide receiver position.
Officially, these guys haven't been signed yet.
Right.
They got to pass the physical Thursday night, and then I assume the Bears will sign. That's the way we used to do it, and I know they've been late. They haven't. Other teams have announced it, but they want the guy to get through. The way it's always been is they want the guy to get through the medical first.
Right.
Because if he flunks the medical, the deal's off. The guy from Michigan State doesn't do a whole lot for me. Doesn't run very well. The other receiver from Florida State, put up the names again there.
Sure will.
Okay, he ran 4.63, squirrel white. And I'm going, oh, shit, well, why are they even bringing him in? So then I do some research. And he was originally at Tennessee, I think, or transferred to Florida State. In high school, this guy ran like a 10,600 meters or a 10,500 meters. So, he can run. Why did he run 4.6? I don't know. So I think he was hurt the end of last year. He might not be ready yet, to go full speed, or might not have been ready yet to go full speed when they had their pro day. Sometimes scouts really push you hard to run. We can't draft you if we don't have a speed, which is bullshit. But that what hurts him is that forever he's got a 4.63 attached to him.
Yeah.
Because they made him run, and he's probably a lot faster than that.
Well, a lot of people in the chat, one in particular really, is pointing out that it's going to be Colston Loveland who is going to see the majority of targets on this team. Do you agree with that? I actually think that Rome could end up getting the most targets here. If he's healthy, I think they really want him to be a number one receiver.
Well, I know what I think. I don't really care.
As long as they get first downs and touchdowns, right?
Yeah, and Colston will be used in a way where I said they don't have another big guy. Well, they can use Colston in a way to be that big wideout also, because he is that athletic. So,
great point.
In fact, I was getting stuff after that we haven't got. Well, I'll wait for this when we get to the tight ends next.
Okay.
But do they have everybody they need in this group? They might need one more, and the one more may be coming in this weekend, and that's what's his name, Scooter Miller.
Yeah, Scooter
Who?
Miller.
Okay,
Scotty, isn't it Scotty
Scotty
Miller?
Miller,
Yeah.
and he's played at Tampa Bay, local kid. He's from Barrington, and another guy who can run, and he's had production in the league. Was a 4.3 guy coming out. Worked out for Detroit last week. There were people in Detroit saying, well, it's a done deal. He's going to be there. Well, when I heard that, I'm going, why would he do that when he's from Chicago?
Yeah.
And they're bringing him in. He's going to do it here, see what he can get here, see if they want him here, and then he'll make a decision. But he wasn't going to make a decision on Detroit without coming here first.
Yeah. And by the way, Maurice Alexander was a guy, 3 seasons ago when he came to the Chicago Bears. I actually did a little work on him because he was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bears needed a wide receiver badly. And so I went to all the teams that have great receivers, great receiver rooms, and Maurice Alexander was in and out of the active roster. And I saw how big he was. I saw how fast he ran. And I said, this guy might be interesting for the Bears to pick up. Lo and behold, 2 or 3 weeks later, they pick him up on waivers, and he has stuck with the team now for 2 years. I bet we're going to see him, now that he's more acclimated with this offense. He's going to have some moments.
Where I'm going to argue that I'll be devil's advocate now.
Awesome.
He really played well in the preseason.
Right.
Might have led the team in catches. And I'm throwing a dart at the wall there, but I know he caught a lot of balls. And where was he? He's on the practice squad because he's got a ceiling and he's probably there.
Yeah. Well, and the other reason could be special teams. He's not playing as well as special teams as some of the others.
And that's good. If you're wide receiver 5 and 6, you better be able to play teams. It's like a prerequisite.
Absolutely.
So, but I think that this Miller, if they in fact sign him, will challenge for one of those lower spots on the roster. And he's got skins on the wall. It's not like he hasn't done it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else regarding the wide receiver room that either excites you or concerns you?
No, but I think you're right. When we brought up Colston, I think you can throw Colston into that group too, only because of the way he's going to be used.
Yeah.
So he's part wide receiver, part tight end. And, he's not a inline tight end. He's a move tight end. So you can call him an H, call him an F, call him a J, call him whatever you want. But, he's not what Cole Kmet is. So, but we'll get to that in a second. But I think they still may be one guy away from, there might be one more guy that's not on that list today that'll be on that list in August.
Gotcha.
In fact, when you look at it, you put up the thing. I think they only got 9 receivers under contract.
That is
correct.
correct.
They really got 3. Most teams want to have 11 or 12 going into camp. Those guys are running a lot every day. Yeah. So a lot of routes, you got 3 wide receivers in it. You can't be having these guys run every rep. They'll be dead. So, and there's going to be guys that get hurt. So, you got to you go in with 12 or 11 at the lowest. So there's room for 2 or 3 more anyway.
Yep, indeed. And thank you, J2K, for correcting my mistake. Alexander was not with the Chiefs. He was with the Stars and then later with the Lions. Appreciate that, J2K. All right, let's move on now to the tight end room. And it is, I put here on the banner, this might be the best tight end unit in the NFL because I have high expectations for Sam Roush. Your overall thoughts about the tight end room?
Okay, well, that's what I was going to bring up a minute ago. Some guy says, well, Colston Loveland's number 1, Roush is number 2, and Cole Kmet's number 3.
No.
Cole Kmet is actually number 1. And well, how could he be? Because he's the freaking Y. Okay, so he's there. And the move guy is Colston. And Colston is kind of a gadget guy. Yeah, Colson's going to catch a lot more balls.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Okay. The guy who's starting the game and blocking is Cole Kmet. So then people say, well, Cole Kmet, he's going to be gone because they drafted Sam Roush. Wrong. They just redid his contract. He's here for 2 more years minimum. Okay, and it's a player that the coaching staff really likes. Not only is he a good player and does exactly what they want for the position he plays, but he's real good in the locker room. Good leader, just a good guy to have in the building. So, you know, he's going to be around. He could be a career bear for all we know. Roush, you know, is kind of surprising. I mean, the thing you don't like is he's got alligator arms. He's got 30.5-inch arms or something for a guy that's like 6'5.5". But it doesn't seem to bother him when you watch him block and you see him
so active.
Yeah. But he can block, and I think he really upgrades the position over Durham Smythe last year because he's a better blocker than Smythe. So he's going to help the run game. He's athletic enough. You know, Smythe played some snaps as like a fullback or an offset fullback. This guy will be able to do that. So I think all told, he's a better receiver than Smythe is. So
yes, totally.
I think he's another weapon. Go back and I did this, when they drafted him, I said, I wonder how much, right away he's replacing Durham Smythe. And I think I brought this up last week. So I looked up how many plays Smythe played last year, not including the playoffs. Smythe played like 290 snaps. He played a lot.
Yeah, he sure did.
Okay, now you add in the playoffs, and he's up like 330 to 340 snaps. Which is for a number 3 guy, that's a lot of play time.
Yep, sure is. Indeed.
And the other guys, 1 or 2 of them may end up on the practice squad.
Yeah, I like this room a lot. I love the pick of Sam Roush as a tight end. I think, what Ben said about what Sam Roush is bringing to this team really warmed my heart because I love guys that can block. And then what Sam himself said at the press conference about how important blocking was for him and that he knew that was going to be the key for him to be get into the NFL. He's embraced it. He takes a lot of pride in it, and you see it in the tape. This guy is going to be a big addition to the success of the Chicago Bears. I was going to say he's going to be a superstar, but I tend to, hyperbole.
He's going to be a good guy you have on the football team.
Yep.
No, it's interesting, and it hasn't really gotten brought up. I noticed it right away during the draft and it goes back actually when we were doing our evaluations for the East-West, and I'm saving this. I got it written down literally to save it when I argue with Gelco in the fall when we're trying to put together an East-West roster.
Awesome.
So I was, we're doing tight ends over a period of about 2 weeks. And there was a bunch of guys that could block. And, I'm going, these guys are going to play. And then I brought up the guy's name. I can't think of his last name now. Went in the 5th round a year ago to Buffalo. Came from Georgia Tech. Before that, he was at Harvard. Mostly a blocker, not fast, 4'8" guy, but he could block his ass off. Productive as a receiver at Harvard, but that's Ivy League competition. Didn't catch a lot, but he played a lot for Buffalo. So Eric is like, yeah, most of those guys don't get drafted. Okay, guess what? Did you see how many tight ends got drafted this year? Like 15 or something like that. And they all got drafted in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Yep.
So, and a lot of them are blockers.
Yeah, right.
So that tells you that guys like Roush have not only value here, they're getting value all around the league.
Yep, indeed. Well, and that leads to Tuch's excellent question. Now, I know you were not a coach in the NFL, and so you didn't do, play design or anything like that. But what can you say to Tuch's question? Can you briefly explain why many NFL teams are running more 13 personnel and how it forces NFL defenses to adjust?
You're overpowering them. You're winning the numbers game. Say the numbers in the box game.
Mm-hmm.
And you're putting big bodies on big bodies and big bodies on smaller linebackers.
Mismatches.
So, yeah, so you're winning the power game, and it's all to help the run game. And part of it may be is just that as much of the NFL is a passing league, what the drafting of all these blocking tight ends tells me is it's silently or quietly shifting a little bit into the running game direction.
Yeah, indeed. It's it's always interesting when you look at things from 40,000 feet, how coordinators start to adjust to what other the defensive coordinator is doing or the offensive coordinator is doing that. And I think we're in the middle of seeing that. Offensive coordinators now are changing things up because they're seeing so many of these umbrella too deep defenses. And one good way to counter that is with the tight ends being out there covering the middle, blocking those little guys and so forth. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. We're also going to see some surprises. One of the things I love, Greg, about this head coach of the Chicago Bears is he's innovative. And so he's going to be on top of all the trends that are going on. So it's going to be interesting.
To go back what you were saying, it's really like a chess match between offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to a point, the offense is at the advantage. The defense catches up. And when the defense catches up, then the offense finds a way to, okay, you're doing that. Now we're going to do this. And now we're going to make you switch, and it goes back and forth. And it's fun to watch because it usually starts slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody catches on. And like I say, it just stuck out to me, the number of tight ends that even a year ago wouldn't have got drafted where they got drafted this year.
Yeah.
That kind of, and say they saw success like that Chicago had. The Rams run the ball a lot. They use a lot of 13. The teams that use 13 are pretty good teams.
Indeed. People in the chat are pointing out that Kadir Ishmael is part of the Ishmael family. Greg, you spent a lot of time at Notre Dame. Did you ever meet Rocket or what was it the other guy's name? His brother? Missile or something?
I never met Rocket. Saw him play a bunch.
Uh-huh.
I remember I was at a game. It might have been the opening game or second or their home opener, and I was with George Young and I said this guy might be the first receiver in the draft, and he was up there pretty high in the first round. But George said, "Nah, he's a fucking receiver," But but a real fast one.
Yeah, indeed, and a great return guy too.
Yep.
All right. One thing that I was looking for blemishes, with the wide receivers and tight ends. Well, we all can agree this is something that needs improvement, and those are the drops. The Bears had a drops problem this year that killed a lot of key drives. They were 29th in drop passes. Now, this is next-gen stats combined with ESPN stats and info, and we can argue about whether they were this bad or not, but we know. And the Bears,
there are a lot of drops. There's no question.
So,
and you know what? Everybody had them.
Everybody, yes. Even down to the running backs who are usually catching passes 5-6 yards from the quarterback. So
Loveland, who's got great hands, had a couple.
Yes,
they're all guilty. It's a point of emphasis by the coaching staff going into this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
and into training camp, and I'm sure you're going to see, a large improvement in that number. It'll be interesting a year from now if we can bring up that number again and see what the improvement is.
Will do. I'll keep track of that. I got a question for you. Being in NFL evaluation rooms, scouting rooms, and with position coaches and so forth, and when you have a player that is having problems with drafts, what's the conversation like? Is it, yeah, this guy can't catch, let's drop him, or is I can work with this guy, we'll, do this and do that? What do you recall that being the conversation?
You got to find out why.
Okay.
Okay, and
could be a vision issue.
Could be a vision issue. Could be a concentration issue. A lot of times it's a concentration issue. Combination vision concentration, tracking the ball. And it could be he just doesn't have good hands.
Mm-hmm.
But before you can fix the issue, you got to find out exactly what the issue is.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have good hands, he's dead in the water. If it's concentration, then does he have the mental ability to overcome that?
Yep.
And when we're, we're evaluating college receivers during the year, and you see a guy gets drops, and you play you go do the play over and over again to see why he dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, you are guessing some. You're not working. You haven't worked with the kid before, but it's a lot of times you'll put in the report, concentration issues, didn't track the ball well. You see some drops when a guy starts to run, like he's tracking the ball into his hands, and right before the ball gets there, he's starting to look where he's going to run. Drops the ball. So that's an issue of just concentration on watching the ball get right to your hands.
Yeah, and Levante makes a good point. Sometimes the player is injured, and he's thinking, "Man, my toe is fucking hitting the ball off his hands."
Yeah, that can be an issue. I think that's more excuse than issue. Okay. But yeah, it's
one that I use.
An injury can affect a guy's concentration. Put it that way.
Okay. Lovey, the pretend Lovey Smith is asking, can coaching catch any of the blames? That nice pun there. Catch any of the blame for those drops? And in a sense, Ben is blaming a little bit of the coaching, saying that we're going to improve our coaching in that area.
Well, you're going to be working on catching the ball.
Right. Taking a little break here as Greg is clearing out his lungs, and we are back. Mute him a little bit more as he finishes. Drink some water. Drink some water. And Dominic Robinson was an athletic study. He never did shit. Yeah, athleticism can be over praised at times. All right, Greg. Hope you're feeling well. We'll get you out of here in about 10, 15 minutes, okay?
Yes,
you can
sir.
Rest up. All right. So the one other thing, somebody said, well, it could be the guy throwing the ball that leads to the drop.
And the guy could throw the ball too hard.
That's the thing.
You could have a shorter pass where he's gunning the ball,
yep.
And it's just, the velocity on the football is too hard. Yes, some of that can be on the quarterback.
Right. And even there were, I can't say there were many, but there were a few times I remember Caleb, even when he was in the pocket and had time, threw a short pass that was 70 miles an hour when it should have been closer to 40 or 50.
No, I get it. And that's a true observation. And part of that is the learning curve that he's going through, is to be able to throw a touch.
Interesting question here from Carm Stroud. Greg, do you grade position coaches at the college level? So when you're scouting a kid, do you ever say, well, this guy had some terrible coaching, or this guy really had some great coaching, so this is...
Oh, yeah. In fact, take that to another level. Where do most pro coaches come from? The college level.
College level.
We part of our job and all my scouts' jobs was to keep a track record and actually have little reports on coaches that stood out to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you could lose this coach, could lose that coach, and you got to replace them. And so we had a coaches board, so to speak, very private. But yeah, that's, I don't, does every team do that? I can't tell you that. I don't know. We did.
Oh, it's smart. It's smart. You should have a drawer full of, potential hires or people that you at least want to get to know.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the coach and then go, oh my God, what am I going to do now?
Exactly. Holy shit, we need a wide receiver coach. Quick. All right, let's see what I got here. Let's spend a little time talking about the interior offensive line. We've got Bradbury at the center. We've got two excellent guards in Tooney and Jackson. We got Logan Jones, who could be the starter this year, taking over Bradbury's
I wouldn't
position.
bet on it.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't bet on it either. But those four names there, I love. And then after that, Greg, tell me about Hergel, McFadden, Newman, and Kump. Are you concerned at all about the depth?
You don't have the Wyoming kid in there.
Oh, the white chocolate guy? Is that who
Yeah.
it is? Yeah, I'm sorry. See, I made me
Not white chocolate, what, white elephant, white gorilla?
white
white
rhino,
something.
some shit.
Yeah, I mean, because, he's got a chance. It's a good group.
Yeah.
And the guy who really surprised me last year at the end was McFadden. And, in the playoff game, he comes in, starts at left guard because Luke had been playing mostly right guard. And, Thuney goes out to tackle, and they didn't miss a beat with McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's a testament to the coaching staff, the line coaches.
Yep.
They got him ready to play. I think it's going to be the whole offensive line, but this in the interior group, the starters are there.
Yep.
But fighting for the backup jobs, that's going to be a hell of a good thing to watch or fun thing to watch. Excuse me, during camp.
I agree.
And I was watching tape of the Wyoming kid the other day, and he is tough, he is strong. He's playing in the Mountain West, which isn't the Big Ten or the Southeast Conference, so he's not going against top competition. But watching his tape in the Mountain West, he doesn't play as athletic as he tests.
Okay.
He looks a little stiff, and yes, Luke Newman is a favorite of mine. He ain't Luke Newman.
Okay.
Okay. Look at Luke Newman at Michigan State the year before, and he just kicked the shit out of people every play. And this guy's good. What this guy's got, he's got size, he's got length, he's got measurables. I think he's a practice squad guy. In fact, I know he's a practice squad guy because he's getting $200 and some odd $1,000 guaranteed. And, so anybody who's got guarantees like that of these unsigned rookies, and I think there's 3 or 4 of them, they're going to, if they don't make the 53, they will be on the practice squad because that guarantee offsets against the practice squad money.
Yeah.
So, when you see those contracts, unless they really suck, that's a given. They're going on the practice squad.
Indeed. The kid has a lot of promise. White chocolate, white gorilla, white rhino, and the exciting whites of Loveland and Dillon.
Cody played like every frickin' snap last year, I think, and he's the oldest guy in the line, but yet he's still got a lot of gas in that tank.
He does. And so, could you foresee him wanting to play into his later 30s, 36, 37?
Well, I think he's got 2 years left on the deal, and I can see him completing that deal.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, I hope he stays around as long as he wants. All right, let us move to the outside of that offensive line, the offensive tackles. I put on the banner that it's not all right. And then kind of a pun there. I wish we had two Darnell Wrights, but instead we've got guys like Karan Amagaji, Theo Benedict, Braxton Jones, Ozzie could come back in October or November. Jedrick Wills is a name to watch. Darnell, of course, and undrafted free agent Mason Murphy. Any thoughts that you want to share on
Mason Murphy does nothing for me. I do a little tape on him.
Okay.
I'd say it's questionable whether he even gets into a preseason game. This year, for Amagaji, it should have got off the pot. He's been hurt. The third round pick, been hurt a lot the first 2 years. Has promise, has ideal traits, got the size, got the length, got the quick feet, got the strength, got everything he needs. He's real smart, but he's got to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They did have him play inside a little bit in practice. Sometimes those guys with real long arms like that can struggle inside.
Mm-hmm.
Where the shorter arm guy plays better because he gets his hands up that much quicker.
Okay.
Going against interior defensive linemen. But interesting guy. Theo can be, he showed last year, he started 6 games at left tackle or something.
Yeah.
They didn't lose a game he played at. Yeah, he had some struggles sometimes, but I think for the most part he's a starting right tackle in the league, even with his arms being as short as they are. He'll probably end up being a guard when it's all said and done. The one thing, and I said it before the draft, and then I said it right after the draft. The biggest smokescreen the Bears had going on all spring was they had to get a tackle.
Yeah,
that was never going to happen. And it was, they didn't draft one. They just wanted you to think they were going to draft one, and meaning the league to think.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing with running back last year. And you just watch. There'll be something next year. They'll do the same thing. And you say, well, they got to get that. And then they're never going to draft them. I think they're happy with the group they got. Wills is a really interesting guy. He was a top 10, 9th or 10th pick in the draft the year he came out. And he played really well. He played like a 9th or 10th pick. And then he hurt a knee, re-hurt the knee. And he probably could have played last year, and he took it on himself to say, no, I got to get healthy. Because I think he was at a point where he thought, well, I can do this. I can gut this out, but he might get hurt again. So he took the year off to get himself ready, get his knee in good condition. And we may or may not see, the result of that. I know Ryan said that, condition-wise, he wasn't where they wanted him to be. They wanted to lose some weight, tighten up his body a little bit, but that's not hard to do. They can do that in the period of time during the offseason program. But I think there's going to be a decent battle between him, Braxton, and Amagaji. And it's just going to be fun to watch. And so then, I think there's national people and even some fans that are worried about the position. I'm really not, because I never thought Ozzie was going to miss the whole year. And I kept saying that here. And then, after the draft, Paul says, yeah, he's doing pretty good. When before they were being real cautious. Well, we don't know if he's going to play. That was, to me, all part of that game. We're drafting a tackle to get people to do that. But if you compare him to other people that had the same injury, he should he'll be on PUP to start. And if the time frame is the same, God willing, there's no complications, week 8 or 9, he should be ready to play. We won't find that out until week 8 or 9.
Indeed.
But based on a linebacker's a lot harder to play as far as athleticism. There's a linebacker who was hurt the day on the calendar, the day before or the day after Ozzy's injury for Philadelphia. He missed 9 games or 8 games for Philly last year, and then tore it up as soon as he got on the field.
Yeah,
had one of his best years, and reclaimed his starting spot. And that's a linebacker when they got to run a hell of a lot more than a tackle does. So, yeah, I can do it. The Chiefs tackle, Justin Simmons, who was their first-round pick last year, he got hurt in late October, had surgery, might have been late October, beginning of November. He was doing stuff during OTAs. Not full go, but doing stuff during OTAs, and never missed a day of training camp. Started out as their starting left tackle. Didn't play that great, but he was physically capable of playing.
yeah.
So, when you use those two as examples, unless there's complications, there shouldn't be a problem with Ozzy coming back at midseason.
Outstanding. I'm going to, we've been on for, what is that, 80 minutes. And so let's cut the rest of the show short. Greg, we'll be back here Monday, and we'll dig into the defense. I got a lot of great great questions.
You didn't hit me with any questions on the offensive line. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I am too. It was hard for me to find defects other than the obvious, the big question at left tackle, because I really like the offensive line. Yeah, there's some questions on the depth a little bit, but I'm not. That's kind of the least concerning position group in my mind, the offensive line, despite the issue at left tackle. What do you think?
Well, no, and I agree with you. And this is what told me a lot. Granted, Braxton didn't do much last year. He was hurt he wasn't recovered when he got to camp, but they really didn't have anybody else. Amagaji got hurt. They were hoping Amagaji actually started out pretty darn good in camp, and then he gets dinged up again. And it was like Braxton had to play. He wasn't ready to play, and he gutted it out. What told me a lot was that they gave him $5 million and then the opportunity to get another $5 million. And that says a whole lot about what the coaching staff thinks of Braxton Jones. So, and if they have confidence, then why shouldn't we?
Indeed.
Because now you've got, he's another year removed from an injury. He had a serious ankle injury. He's bigger, stronger. He knows the offense. He knows what's being asked of him. He's still got to learn to play lower in pass protection. But, if Rochard didn't want him, they wouldn't have brought him back. So he obviously wanted the guy.
Yeah.
Indeed. And that, it kind of surprised me that, but to me, that was very, very telling.
But you and I have loved, prior to what happened last season because of the injury and stuff, you and I loved Braxton.
I mean, you look at a lot of the traits, and they're very good. His main problem was his ability to anchor, and it's because he gets tall. And some of that is concentration, because there are times when you see him sink his hips, and he anchors pretty well. And so, and like go to the hands thing, it's concentration.
It is.
Got to get my hips down,
muscle memory. Yep.
Yeah, but he's a hard worker. He's a good guy. He's played a lot of football, and I think the competition. I'm kind of excited to see what Wills is going to do, and I'm excited to see what Amagachi's going to do.
Is this a make or break year for Karan?
Yeah, I said it a little earlier. It should or get off the pot for him.
Yeah, indeed. I wish him well because he seems like a great young man, and unfortunately, he's just been gotten that injury bug. Hopefully, he can shake that off and play to his capabilities. All right. With that, Greg, any final words to your followers?
No, I'm looking forward to doing the defense next week. That'll be fun. We'll probably get a bunch of negative stuff on the D line.
Trust me. That goes without saying, my man. And by the way, I didn't hit the star. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because Evie said what all of us are saying, which is, gosh, I wish I would have said that. It would have been a nice transition to the close. She basically is sending you hugs and kisses. Oh, there it is. She says, sending you good juju and healing energies, Greg. So there you go. And all of us are doing
I said earlier, I got to deal with this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, and I've been dealing with it for actually as long as you've known me.
Yeah. I remember you would come here.
We started doing this in 2020.
Yep. It was really bad then. When you came into the studio, you'd be by the microphone and you could hear. And sometimes I would mute you when somebody else was talking. Yeah. It was a lot worse now than it is then.
No, I mean, I just, I have moments now, is I guess the best way to put it. But, I've learned to deal with it. It is what it is. And I just know this. They say it ain't going to kill me.
Well, how old are you now, Greg? Do you mind sharing that?
My birthday was yesterday.
Oh, my God. Got to send you a present. Expect something in the mail, brother. You like flowers?
How old am I? 3/4.
Okay, the big 7'5", baby. Awesome. Well, happy birthday. I hope someone was there. I know your wife works out of town. Anybody there to celebrate with you?
My dog.
Good old Bennett.
Yeah, I was gonna make a steak, and I just wasn't feeling great yesterday, so I'm gonna have it tonight.
Oh, good. Well, guess what? You and I are
both. My granddaughter's birthday today. Hers is the day after mine. So.
Oh, cool. You and I are both bachelors because my wife and her daughter are out of town on a 5-day vacation. So I've been, just watching.
And she didn't want to take you?
No, she didn't. She says, "I'm not going to. You're a gimp. I'm not taking you on a walking vacation."
Where'd they go, or don't you want to say?
No, I'll say they went to Charleston, South Carolina.
I love Charleston.
Yeah, they read that
one of my best friends lives there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They read that it was a great place for mother-daughter vacation spot, so they're out there. Yeah. So
Charleston is a very charming small city. I went there with Robin one year, and they've got a carriage tour that is really cool because there's so much of that old South architecture in there. I mean, that's a place I wouldn't mind living, put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe my wife will put a down payment down on a house.
I got a strong feeling, too. We're going to be talking stadium pretty soon, too.
Ooh, all right.
And I have a feeling that it ain't going to be down the street from you.
Oh, really?
Well, you just keep listening to the politicians, and they ain't getting it done.
They're fucking assholes.
The Senate, you had to do a lot of arm twisting to get the Illinois House to jump on board, and the Senate doesn't agree with what the House had. And it's been 2 weeks. They have done nothing, and they got to make their changes, and then it has to go back to the House. In the meantime, the Bears want to get a deal done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be, hey, we've waited long enough.
And frankly, I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame them. You
Yep.
know? It's, sometimes you got to play hardball, and if you back down from playing
And
hardball,
then you got that goofball who's the mayor of Chicago who keeps saying, "Well, no, they got to stay in the city of Chicago," and and the Bears go right off. No, that's not happening.
yes,
I mean,
he
it's
thinks
like
he'll.
how many times you got to tell this guy?
Yeah, he thinks he's going to win the next election if he gets the
Yeah,
Bears
right.
to stay in Chicago. That ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry.
I,
All right.
it's crazy how the last two mayors have been so terrible, and it's like, why can't they get somebody that has a brain?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, they haven't had a good mayor in decades. I hated
I
Rahm
thought Rahm Emanuel was okay.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way, he's a lot better than. I mean, I'm not a big Rahm Emanuel fan, but he was so much better than these people.
Yeah, it's been sad. The last when I worked at Channel 2 when Harold Washington won the mayoral race over Jane Byrne, and I really appreciated that guy. He was honest, he was hardworking, he had a plan for Chicago. I thought he was one of the better mayors in my lifetime.
Well, I wasn't here for that one.
Yeah.
So,
all right, brother, go take care of yourself. Evie's going to text you the the tea ingredients that you need, and we'll talk to you via text. And if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to give me a call, brother.
okay, buddy. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
See ya.